Welcome back to Kung Fu Maintenance. What you're looking at is an indoor blower wheel that broke off the hub.
Okay, got an indoor blower motor. Shaft completely broke off. I don't know where the other piece is, but it broke off.
Along with the
I
hub.
can't reach in there far enough to connect a new motor. Got a new blade. Here's how the hub should look. Small problem is I don't have the correct motor, unfortunately, for this. But I have a condenser fan motor. Thing is, they are the same RPMs. They both turn 1075 RPMs. So I'm gonna do the experiment and see, can we use the outdoor blower meter, condenser fan motor, in place of the indoor blower motor. My only concern, I think, couple concerns I guess, is the outdoor blower motor has these plug holes to shed water. So if it rained, basically, if you were going to switch, if this motor was going to be mounted this way, you'd take the plug and put it in this side and then put the plug in the outside. This one's indoor, so I don't think that's going to be a factor. There's no rain, there's no water inside, so so it's not going to matter the plug either way. And then this is going to sit sideways. Again, no harm, no foul there. The through bolts here, that's a little bit of a concern. And then this deal only has one mount on the shaft. So whereas this peg is actually designed to have two go through it. Other than that, that's the only difference I can see. The concern is that once this is tightened up on there, is it going to spin true? It looks like it is. So I'm just lining it up and seeing here, once this is on. So I'm just like finger tightening it to test it. Maybe a little bit tighter with my channel locks if I can find them. Cool. Just to get an idea of whether this is going to work or not. Okay. There's the wiring. That's going to be just fine. So it's going to spin true. Can't get much better than that. And then this has counterclockwise or clockwise rotational spin that it's set for. And we've got reversing wires. So normally the motor would not have reversing wires. It only spins one way, and it'd be set to spin the correct way from the beginning. Now, thinking about how this one is normally mounted, it's normally mounted upside down, and I believe the blade spins clockwise. And so if this is upside down and the blade spinning clockwise, I believe it goes this way, which would be the correct way. So I believe that we're the correct way. Now once I mount the motor, obviously I can switch those reversing wires. If it was going backwards, that's easy enough. Just separating the purple wires and the yellow wires, and then connecting them yellow to purple and purple to yellow. That would reverse the direction of the motor. These motors, when they come, they have an extra wire, or sometimes an extra two wires, a red wire and a blue wire.
Some motors also have an orange wire. The different colored wires are for lower fan speeds. The white and the black equal the highest fan speed possible for these blower motors. In my units, the other wires are just capped off.
But this will just have one speed. My units only use one speed anyway. Normally with these indoor blower motors, I only have a hot and neutral, black and white. So that'll be just fine for me. Capacitor is the same. It's a 5 microfarad capacitor, so the exact same thing. This one already has a new one on, so that'll be easy to change. The other concern was these through bolts. Will this motor sit far enough in? I believe it will, so I think that's going to be fine. Going to change it out and we'll see. So we'll jump to that. So we're going to be reusing the other motor mount. The other thing that's a little bit weird, if you notice on this new motor, it has no airflow openings like this one does. So this one, obviously, it keeps it cool as it's running. So this one won't have that feature, although this one runs outside where it's a lot hotter. This one's going to be in an air-conditioned space, pulling, you know, not quite as hot air. These are running out in 127 degrees sometimes. And this is running inside, where probably the hottest it ever sees is 95 degrees. If someone had the unit off or something, they might see 100, but it's, you know, it's going to be cooling and getting cool air across it much faster. So I don't anticipate having any problem here. That's why I'm trying this out. Hopefully the profile size is the same, and it looks like it is. So the other thing I'd be interested to look at is how much is this motor? How much is this motor? If my memory is working correctly, this one's maybe 180, something like that, and this one's like 250.
My memory wasn't
if
so
this
good.
Works
there
out,
was only like a $10 or
I don't
$20
know. I'm not
difference
saying I
in
would
price between the two motors.
always go this route, but
and those
but
prices were not accurate.
It does make you wonder, like, what's going on there, and would that work out good? So the experiment continues. All right, so here's our strap deal. I'm going to reuse the strap. I took out the ground wire here. I've got a deep socket that's going to, in theory, make this a bit easier. I might need my channel lock to hold the other side. Sometimes I can just use my finger. Yeah. We just needed enough to pull it apart. We're about midway through, so we're just going to kind of equal that on the new motor.
That's got handy dandy little indents in the side that I imagine go in a specific.
Yeah, that lock
spot.
into these anchors. Yeah, it just locks in right there.
You're not going to have that luxury in the other unit.
It doesn't really lock into the other unit, just so you know. So this whole part.
Oh, it doesn't even into that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. It looked like it did.
I know.
But it does.
It gets all kind of crazy. Okay. So trying to somewhat keep things in similar position here. Go. Thank you. It's good. This leg. It's nice when possible to take this into some type of climate controlled space, you know. Because sometimes you don't have that luxury. Sometimes it's, you've got to do it inside and where there's, but it's always good to throw some kind of mat or cardboard down. This is a messy job. You see the gloves, you know, it just makes clean up a lot easier, protects your hands a little bit. It gets a bit crazy.
Deep set sockets for a
So
drill
we're basically mounting this
can really
about
speed
in the
things
middle.
up too.
The socket. And switch socket direction. As I start to get it there a little bit, and we'll reposition the legs through the proper way. Proper position. Now they'll be somewhat slidable. So slide it about where we want them. They basically lock into a particular position on the, you know, just gotta work with it a little. Okay. There's that one, this one, that one. Basically getting them about even. Looks right there. And bringing it snug. Okay. Yeah, I think we're good there. think I need to loosen it up and slip it through a little bit better. So you can see these. I've done some funny stuff over the years with these. I've had it where I mounted the motor backwards, and then I got to mount it to the deal, and the motor's out this way, and I realized what I did. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mounted the whole motor backwards.
Funny stuff.
Oh gosh,
Yeah, that's not the motor. Once we get this, there we go, right there. Definitely a little tricky, but we're in the center all the way, and we've got these all the way. So I'll go ahead and tighten it down.
Every time you put it down.
Right, yeah, then it
one
taps
slides
it.
up.
Yeah, right. Okay. What I'm going to do is just start to get it into place here. Oh, and we can't do that yet. What we want to do now is insert our motor and the shaft facing the opposite way. So the shaft goes this way. And drop it down into the unit. I had to take off the top plate here in order to get it in there. Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, and now we're going to pass the motor through. And of course it's stubborn, there it is. Okay, I want the wires aimed down. I'm just going to get, well, it all didn't work out quite the way I wanted it to. Let's see. I need to come back out first. There we go. Because I realize that I have to tighten this down before I go any further. Let's position those legs equal. Nice and snug. So this motor is a 1075 RPM. I should have showed you on the deal on the box for the. I'll show you on the box after. Okay, this left behind one of the pegs, so I'm going to line up that peg. You want to make sure your grommets here are there. Otherwise, the
Pass-through bolt. Just squeeze it down too much.
What you call it? The metal can get.
The metal keeps the rubber part from getting squeezed down too much. It only lets the bolt connect it at the right amount of tension.
Back in. They're just a sleeve, but it keeps the rubber from getting smashed down too much. So then this goes on, and that's going to limit how far the deal gets on. Now when you're putting these in, don't push them down too hard.
When you're putting the bolt in.
I'm just threading it by hand. Let's switch. I'll take this one up. just don't push in too hard. It's just like a microwave bolt. If you push in too hard, you can push the bolt out. They just clip into place. So you don't want to push them in too hard. And the last bolt right here. And the last bolt is missing. See, that's what I was talking about, not pushing them in too hard, and it's actually missing.
Inside.
So it's either pushed inside, hopefully it's inside. Oh yeah, here it is. Got lucky, so I don't have these. But there's what we're looking for. And this just pushes into place and the two teeth will, and they have to take the whole thing out to redo it. That's crazy. Yeah. Craziness. If we scoot that as far over as we can. And reach. Nope. And in. There we go. Oh gosh. I can almost get rid of this finger. These are the stuff they don't show you. Not shown on TV. That's what it is. Here we go. I can see it. You guys probably can't see it, but there's one leg of it. It's just a matter of squeezing it into place. If I can get the threaded part into it, it should squeeze itself in on that side. Yeah. Oh, no, that's not really on it. I think that I got it. Yep, we got it started anyway. Let's see if I can. Oh gosh. Well, we didn't get it started. Okay. I got a corner of it in there. Okay, I got it pushed back out now. Oh man.
You're trying to get the bolt in?
Yeah, I'm trying to get the test in.
Oh, is it up there?
No, it's the back grommet. It's okay, I'm almost there. I just, oh my gosh, it's right there. I got 1 foot through. Just getting the second foot through. Either that or getting the bolt on it. Feel it?
Yeah.
Okay. I need to actually. Yeah, tricky, huh?
So you're holding it like this?
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is push it into place. You know, it
Got it.
clips into the square hole.
And it clips like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Not that easy.
I had my hand in there, man.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. Sorry. There it is. I see your finger. Right? Uh-huh.
If I just hold it there like that.
Yeah, and then I turn the bolt in. Yeah. A little far, a little back.
Oh.
Dude, crazy, huh?
Get it by my middle finger if I can.
Alright.
And then slide it.
Yeah. Thank goodness for editing.
Where am I?
Yeah.
No, we're not there.
No. Okay.
Hold on.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're right there. Straight ahead.
There you go. There you go, you're in.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yep. Yep. Keep
Okay.
going.
Now we can I'm pulling it forward just a little bit so that you try to pull it into a spot. And just tightening it down may pull it in.
Yeah.
At least it's not gonna. Yeah. Good. And it's gonna seat flush, so that's good. Crazy, but good.
It just went through.
It just popped in place, so
Cool.
it's good. So you can see, that's what it should look like. Okay. So, yeah, stuff you run into. Yeah.
I knew there was a way.
Yep. There's always a way. Yep. There we go. It's tight. It's tight. Tight. Okay. Now we've got a ground screw. Goes through here. To the ground. And this I'm going to kind of anchor around these reversing wires just so they don't go anywhere.
It's going to spin the direction we want it to go in?
In theory. If it doesn't, then we'll separate these wires and we can do that exactly. Which is the purpose of those. Makes it nice and easy for condenser fan motors, which is what this motor is normally for. So hopefully this doesn't cause me any problems. In the meantime, I will order the correct motor. Different options. I could have tried to flip this backwards and put the blade on backwards. I didn't really like that idea too much. I think I would lean towards this idea of doing it this way. Now,
That was my next question, is whether that...
yeah, I want to get this darn ground screw in first. Finished. There we go. And now we need to balance out the motor shaft, and we want to line it also up with the flat portion of the blade. So now I'm going to rotate it over to where it's about equal distance between both sides. So looks like a little more left would do good. Not too much. Come back here. Right about there. It looks about equal to me. And go ahead and tighten it on the flat portion of the shaft here. Get that nice and flat. And then I'm not going to tighten it too much yet. Just a little snug. Okay. And now I'm going to give it a good spin. We're going to make sure nothing's, one, it's not wobbling, and two, nothing's hitting. And it looks great there.
Better than it was.
We want it to spin this way, and that's going to give nice airflow, cool us off. All right. Now the previous one was wobbling and banging and doing all sorts of crazy stuff because it had separated from the hub. So now that we know that this is good, I'm going to tighten this down a bit more. Make sure it's nice and snug. It's not going to go anywhere. It's about as tight as we need it. It's not going to move. It's not going to move. But we want to make it possible to change in the future. So again, we want the motor to spin this way, which looks like it's clockwise. It's going the way the direction the clock would go, which is the way that this motor in theory is initially set up. So in theory, it's going to spin the correct direction from the get-go. So yeah, now I need the plate. I should have showed you removing the plate to begin with. Plate for the top that we emptied the stuff out of. All right. One thing for you air-conditioned guys out there, be careful with your feet. I have a lot of trouble with my feet from crouching down on my feet for so many years. So when possible, find something to sit on, or just don't sit on your feet too long. You know, if you're gonna crouch down, make sure you reposition yourself periodically, because it can really cause you a lot of trouble, and you want to have some longevity. You don't want to be worn out earlier than you need to be. The job can take a toll on you, so just the little things you can do to
You want my bucket?
make it better for you. I think this is going to be quick. So we've got 2 screws that go through the back here. And I think I'm all right. There we go. Just reposition once in a while. And then you've got these longer screws that go through the side here. Just making sure they go through the proper spot here. I'll show you on film. It goes right through there. There we go, one to each side. And then next we've got the fan capacitor to hook up. You always want to change to a new fan capacitor with a new motor. We've got a new fan capacitor on here, ready to go. And capacitor gets mounted to the side here, and you've got your brown and white wires, and those will get hooked up to the fan capacitor. The white and neutral is stripped for us and ready to go. I'll just need to strip the other ones at my unit. I need to bring a couple wire nuts for that. This has this little protective cover. It just makes it so it's insulated. So I don't know why it seems like they worry so much about the indoor portion of the AC unit. Maybe because there's more moisture in that area, and it's got this protective cover. And then on a lot of the outdoor units, you don't see anything like this. It's just open and go. So I guess it's just, you got to know the hazards of the job. It's dangerous. Electricity, moisture. Air conditioning does a mix of electricity and moisture, sharp parts, tight quarters. Just the things that you got to deal with insulation, gaseous fumes, dangers and hazards, sharp parts, stuff that can get in your eyes. Just be careful out there. You want to go the distance. So this little protective cover just makes that a little bit better. You can tie these up with the other wires out of the way, something like that. But we're ready to bring a cable tie, bring a couple wire nuts to hook up our wiring, and we'll be ready to go. I'm going to change my gloves. They make cleanup a little bit easier. And that's going to do that.
wire nut had a screw stuck in it. So on this one, just hooking up the white and the black wire. Different applications, again, will have different setups for lesser wire speeds. What you never want to do is hook up the black and another color together. That could burn out the motor. So it's you know, unless your board has terminals for particular colors for different speeds. So, you know, there are different applications out there. But if you only have a white and a black wire, you're going to want to hook up light color to light color, unless you have the, you know, the black itself going to a different color. Basically just mimicking what you have already. Good idea to take a photo before touching anything, anytime. Just gives you a good reference photo for the future. Especially the low voltage wires there, when you pull out the blower motor assembly coming out of the transformer, you can see here there's a lot going on there, so good idea to snap a photo before beginning anything. So I'm curious about what you thought at this point on the question, can a condenser fan motor be used to replace a broken indoor blower motor? Did you think this would work? Did you think this wouldn't work? At this point, do you know why? I'm about to explain what it is, but just curious what you honestly thought to this point. Okay, so here's the condenser fan motor that I've been using. It's a D7909. You can see it's 208 volts, okay? And then everything else 5 microfarad 370. And then here's the indoor blower motor, 115 volts, 60 hertz. So that was the difference, and that's why some of you maybe guessed it. Be honest, who actually got it. This is a 3-speed motor, whereas this is a 1-speed motor. But anyway. Story. Okay, track motor came in today, so we're going to need to change out this motor. Discharge the capacitor, although it would discharge in the windings on this. Safe. I'm going to see if it's possible to change it out without removing the brackets. What I would have to do is get in here and loosen this steel up. If I can get in there. Okay, long story short was I was able to do it that way. I wouldn't recommend doing it that way. It's not really worth it. Better to just take the deal back apart and replace the motor the normal way. It's just not worth squeezing into the tight areas there. So on this whole video, using the condenser fan motor, what really threw me off is that even though it was a 240 volt motor, it had a white wire and a black wire. The white was common, and the black is your hot, and for different speeds. You could have the black hot or a red hot or a blue hot for the normal motor, but for this condenser fan motor, it just had the black hot. And in a lot of other situations where you have 240 volts, you've often got one side is red and one side is black. And that wasn't the situation with this motor, because that wire was white. That's what threw me off, kind of thinking that it was a neutral, which it wasn't anyway. So long story short, once hooking it up, of course the motor ran at too low of a speed to be effective for air conditioning. So the long story short is you can't use a condenser fan motor to replace an indoor blower motor unless it's rated for 120 power or 110 power. Anyway, hope you found this video helpful, and hopefully there was a few other things that were interesting that made it worthwhile. Okay, so here's the condenser fan motor that I've been using. It's a D7909. You can see it's 208 volts, okay? And then everything else 5 microfarad 370. And then here's the indoor blower motor, 115 volts, 60 hertz. So that was the difference, and that's why some of you maybe guessed it. Be honest, who actually got it. And in order to make this unit work, I wound up having to take the motor from a vacant unit, or take the whole assembly and housing and everything, in order to survive for that day until the correct motor came in the next day. Changed it out, no big deal, but thought I share this one with you, because in case anyone ever wondered, could you use a condenser fan motor to replace a indoor blower motor? Yep, always learning more, both from our mistakes and our victories. It's always something you can learn from the process, as long as you study to understand and figure things out.